So what the thing with Instituto, there's kind of two things going on.
Yeah.
One is there's the legal services for the working poor,
which you just described. Yeah.
and then two, there's the Workers Resource Center, that and the event,
Okay.
and the or events. There's two events now. One takes place every 2 years. One takes place once a year.
All right. Okay.
And I do kind of community outreach things with
To let people know it exists.
Right, I do that with community groups, tech groups, labor groups, the city of San Francisco itself.
Yeah,
everything
and
from
it's,
banks.
by the way,
to,
it's the first year that I received the official invitation with the card to return with the donation thing. It's the first year I received that this year.
right.
So I don't know how you guys got my contact info, but you did get it. I mean, you probably have a lot more resources now to outreach to people.
Absolutely. Well, the event is a social, what's called a social enterprise for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So the organization is actually very small. There's like 7 people on staff. The budget is $350,000 a year.
So
It gets a small grant from the city, less than $70,000 a year.
just for the rental, maybe.
Yeah, and then it gets, it's from the Mayor's Office of Housing and Economic Development, because we provide these services to the working poor in San Francisco, and we do an excellent job
Okay.
at that. And we have all kinds of awards and certifications and verifications of the good work that Instituto has been doing for over 30 years. It's very mission driven. There's nobody on staff that makes over $30,000 a year.
It's non-profit.
So they're very hardworking, working all the time and very mission driven.
Oriented.
So it's a very traditional nonprofit in that sense.
Okay.
Simultaneously, it has if you go to the website,
Yeah.
it has a very
Corporate image.
No.
No?
It looks very grassroots, not flashy. There's no
Oh.
flash, but there is a lot of Web 2.0 there.
Sponsors.
You can download PDFs about our clients that tell stories about the clients, the people we serve.
Okay.
You can download calendars and things. We have a whole channel called Working Media, workingmedia.info, where we use web video and YouTube to tell stories.
Okay.
We have what's called the Instituto Solidarity Network page, which is a whole list of resources, links to other labor organizations, community organizations, businesses and labor-friendly businesses, green businesses, progressive businesses. And then we have links to resources like you can download a PDF of every food distribution point, food kitchen, food pantry, shelter for people who are homeless.
Or La Cucina, oui. Yes.
Well, like Cucina's an incubator, but it's like Glide Memorial Church, St. Anthony's Kitchen.
It's a resource.
San Francisco Food Bank for food, or
Other
if you need
resources.
emergency housing, and then anyway, you can download those
All
documents
these resources.
in English as in Spanish as a PDF. So that's a little high tech, but we print it out and then we just give people the paper when they walk in the door.
But when I walked in the office there, most people are part-time. I mean, they say if you want to talk to somebody, leave a message, basically, because most people who actually are on the staff are not there full-time. Is that correct?
No. Most people there who are on the staff are either there or they're in court.
Oh, that's what it is.
They're,
Okay.
they're running around, at the, or not in court, in a hearing with the labor commissioner.
Okay, and like you go out there and see other organizations for them.
Right. So kind of back to the story about the guy who didn't get paid.
Yeah.
We will take and go with them to the San Francisco or the California Labor Commissioner.
Okay.
And we will tell the story.
Okay.
We'll document the truth.
There? What would
and
happen?
they will say it doesn't matter if you're documented or you're not documented. You cannot hire somebody and then not pay them in California because it's against the California labor laws.
Right.
It's what's called slavery.
Okay.
If you have somebody working for you, you don't pay, that's a slavery, and it's against the law.
Yes.
So then we document that, and then we get the people their back pay. Sometimes it's $1,000, $2,000. Sometimes it's $5,000. Even sometimes it's $10,000.
But how do you find the culprit? I mean, how do you find the guy who did that? I mean, if he doesn't show up in court, a lot of time they don't show up.
Right. Well, if they don't show up, they lose. Finding them is not as hard as getting them to pay.
Oh, that's hard also.
Right. So when we take them to court, we tell the story, tell the truth, and then we win.
Yeah.
And then quite often, then
You
we have to
serve
get them
them.
to pay. So then we act as kind of a collections agency.
Okay, so
Right.
you send someone there?
Yeah. So we send somebody there and we say, oh, this guy's running a construction business, or this guy's running a kitchen, a restaurant.
And he's
And
not
he has
paying
these violations. He owes this. He owes that. He probably owes money to lots of different people.
because
Well-
they work under the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we, we'll say, we'll pursue them and say, okay, the court says you have to pay us, and the
Okay.
sheriff says you have to pay us, and if you don't pay us, it'll be even
We're
more
gonna
money.
close you down.
So eventually you should pay. And then when they do pay, we give the people their money. We don't charge any
A fee.
money for the fee. We get our money from donations and
sponsors.
small grants and sponsors and the different events and social enterprises.
It's a good service because there is a service at United Nations Plaza called, when you try to collect salaries and stuff. I mean, the workers. There is an organization under the federal California law that takes care of unpaid wages. I don't know what the name of that
Right.
state organization is, but this one is specifically for people who cannot document themselves.
Well, it's for that, and it's really for anybody.
Okay.
Anybody is our mandate as long as they're working poor.
Okay.
They're working in the workplace. They have a problem with employment related to employment law. Now, there's several other nonprofit organizations that deal with employment law, and there's other, like city or state organizations that are responsible for issuing the laws and monitoring that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But we are just more accessible to some people because we're in the mission. We're open, 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and we're very mission driven. So we get used a lot.
Okay.
So
So you considered maybe one of the key staff there? Are you considered like one on the board of director, one of the key people?
Yeah, to the board. I'm what's called the chief of staff,
Okay.
but it's not. It sounds like a big title, like Obama has a chief of staff.
Does that mean
but
you hire
but
the
it's
lawyers?
only we have a very small staff,
Okay,
and most
but
of what I do,
Do
most
you
of what
hire
I
the
do,
lawyers? No.
no, I don't hire the lawyers. I do the events. I do the community outreach. I work with the executive director,
And you
who's
do
the only person
fundraising?
in the world I've been able to find who works harder than me.
Okay. And you do the fundraising?
And I help. Yeah, I help with the fundraising.
Okay.
And we have other people. We have some volunteers who work on grants. The executive director writes grants.
Okay.
But I come up with some of the different strategies to attract the business sponsors and the labor sponsors and the grants.
Perfect.
to
Perfect.
them.
So let's see. There's one that sounds like a good idea. We are one. What do you do? What is that? Respect your rights. Is that in tied with the?
Yes. So We Are One is a national campaign
Yeah.
that was initiated by the National Labor Federation, the AFL-CIO, and it brought in national community-based
That's your
organizations.
button, right?
Yeah, that's the button for the campaign.
Okay.
It brought in national community-based organizations like the National Council of La Raza
Okay.
and the NAACP and groups like that.
Oh, and you put them into one umbrella.
Well, since things have gotten a lot worse for labor, recently, even though we have a good, Secretary of Labor, there's a national effort by big business and the Republican Party, to tell the truth, and to cut back to initiate different strategies to get rid of labor unions. So
what
that's
do you
what
do?
they're trying to do in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Okay, so what is happening in Wisconsin and what's happening in Ohio is not just happening in Wisconsin, Ohio. It's happening all over the country, and it's an organized effort by an organized network of interests and people foundations, think tanks, right-wing groups that are philosophically against labor unions. And so the AFL-CIO has organized this campaign to fight back and educate people about that. So there were just rallies in cities all over the United States last Monday called We Are One. And it was organized on the the anniversary of Martin Luther King being assassinated.
Okay.
When he went to support the garbage workers.
Okay.
And so they specifically chose that day. And so now there's kind of a national campaign to try and educate people about the value of labor unions and the things that labor unions do for people, not just for people in labor, but for the people in general. For instance, the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday and the 40-hour work week came about because of the organized labor movement. It was just not an accident that,
How long ago was that?
That was a long time ago, But that's why people don't have to work on the weekends, because we have a national standard that says
no weekend.
That says 40 hours a week. Whether you're working Saturday, if you work on Saturday and Sunday, then you don't work on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
Are you trying for 30 hours a week?
Well, they're trying to just hang on to 40 hours and get a living wage.
Okay.
But the law says if you work more than 40 hours, then you have to get paid overtime.
Okay.
Time and a half.
So your organization
overtime.
enforced that?
Well, the organized labor movement
enforce it.
And the businesses that have contracts with labor unions, they have that standard in place.
Yes.
And because that 13 million workers and the businesses that they work in have that in place, all the other businesses around the United States follow that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the standard. Same thing with things like Social Security. Social Security would never happen in the United States
without the unions.
Yeah, without the union movement. So even if you're not in a labor union, if you're enjoy Social Security, that is because
thanks to
the unions and everybody else fought for that in the 1930s and when it was established.
So We Are One is a yearly event?
No, We Are One is a relatively new campaign. It started after what happened in Wisconsin.
Okay, so there is no specific event yet.
No, well, it was the national coordinated series of rallies that happened on Monday.
Okay.
In cities all over the United States.
This past Monday?
This past Monday.
Okay.
And then and then it will continue.
Okay. So
because the situation continues.
So now that you roll the ball, then it's gonna keep on rolling and
right.
start new stuff.
Well, there's a big power in in the majority of people, and the majority of people are affected by by these issues.
Okay.
This other campaign I work with is called the One Campaign, and that's an international campaign focused on international global poverty issues. So
So you wear different hats at different time of the day. I mean, you raise money for all these three organizations, or you do organizing of events also for these three organizations? I mean, what is your role? Is your role from each of these three organizations different?
Yeah, different. So for the We Are One campaign, I work as a volunteer.
Okay.
For the One campaign, I work as a volunteer.
And the
for the
other
Instituto,
you're staff.
Yeah,
you're staff. Okay.
Yeah, I play I have the role of chief of staff and the events manager.
Okay.
For other groups, clients, I'll work on special projects for them. They may have a printing project, they may have a video project, they may have a web project.
Then you become you become like their agent.
Yeah, kind of a consultant,
agent.
organizer,